Alright, and we're back. God, it's been months and months and months since I made a video. I'm sure I'm going to get a whole bunch of I told you so's for this, but as you could tell, looks like we've made less progress. Looks like stuff has come off. Single turbo project was completed. Ran alright, didn't make the horsepower numbers I wanted it to. I just needed a new turbo, but no matter how many times it's been done, I guess it always comes back to parts availability for custom-made parts is difficult when it comes to repairing anything. And then it actually did not free up nearly as much space as what you would think it would. By the time you had the radiator and turbo and all that junk in there, everything was just too close. Intake temps were actually a little hotter than my factory setup. A little disappointed by that, and there just wasn't a good way to do it without really cutting into the body or anything of the car. There was lots of talk of, and there's even been one, turbo setup in the battery location. So, anyways, moving on. Single turbo project scrapped. It's gone. Don't have any parts left. It was sold to somebody that is going to, I guess, chop the crap out of their 240SX to make this work. They've already got a VG in it, and they're going from there. So anyways, we are going back to twin turbo. A little different this time though. Instead of doing a twin turbo motor, you know, with all the good original Nissan design crap, boost solenoids and all that. Don't get me wrong, works great. If you have a twin turbo, leave it the way it is. Don't screw with it. But since I have the NA engine, well, not really NA. If you followed the build, I guess you'll know that this is a low compression motor. Has TT oil squirters, TT pistons, and all the deletes done. But it is still an NA plenum, NA block, which is the same as a TT. A lot of the setup is still the same. You know, no AC, keeping the power steering. Anyways, so we're going twin turbo, which leads us to the workbench. These are a set of just stock Garrett models. I got them used from, if you follow TT.net, if anyone Woody75 is ever selling anything, he's got good stuff. If you're looking for something, hit him up first. He's got a pretty good collection, to say the least. These were needs rebuilt turbos. I think he said he sells them for $175 or something for a set. I'd recommend getting center housings, but I used to work at a turbo rebuild shop, so I went ahead, I rebuilt the turbos. I went and had them balanced and everything. I did not replace the actuators. They tested good on my bench, so we're good to go with those. Yeah, I know this is on there wrong. It's just not bolted down. Some downpipes. Let's see. Here's a rebuild kit, or well, it's the old pieces that are in there, but the plate was actually chewed up pretty good. I don't know if you could tell or not, but from the picture, but that's those are good 1/8 inch gashes in the plate, which these are some cheap, almost like a pot metal, very lightweight. Just from the sound, I'm sure you could tell they're pretty cheap. Of course, originally they were 270-degree thrust bearing. They're 360 now. The kits I get come with these bearings. These are pretty cheap Chinese kits. I don't use all the parts out of them. They're a good thing to start with. I don't use the thrust bearings out of them. Some of them I do. I usually just mic them first and see how close they are to what they need to be. But they usually are never within what I want to, how close I want them to be. So I use a separate supplier for those. I still just call up the shop where I work at, and he gets them from his supplier. Anyways, I've still got to. These are my. These are just like fittings for bobber motorcycles. They're actually just oil plug fittings, but they're threaded to 3H NPT, National Pipe Thread, and then they're just grays on the bottom. Got to weld those to the oil pan to put in the return tubes. Got our stainless steel oil feed kit here. God, I've had this thing in my garage forever. I don't know. I don't remember where I got it. I don't think it's a name brand one. I know it's partially pieced together. Because these lines, I bought these fittings that came with a separate cheap eBay kit, but I didn't like the way the lines were set up. The crimp fittings on the lines were really cheap. So these are just some nitrous lines I had laying around. These are a make-it-yourself nitrous kit. I've got a little crimper and everything, a little hydraulic press crimper back over in the back over there. And then I do it because I usually have a color code red and blue, so I can make my own nitrous lines for all my stuff. Usually direct port stuff. I don't use stainless steel, but I like to use, well, I don't use steel braided. I use stainless steel hard lines. Anyways, so that's kind of where we're at. I've got everything left over from my last build. I got some MSP manifolds and all that good stuff. Since I'd gotten rid of most of the stock TT stuff, I kind of had to source all the miscellaneous intercoolers, piping, all that good stuff. This is all the hard pipe stuff, and then of course like the bullhorn tube or whatever, intercooler ducts, all that good stuff. Like these lines I probably won't be reusing. I'll probably just use some silicone stuff I got laying around. I'm actually in Colorado Springs, so siliconeintakes.com is actually based here, right down south of where I'm at, 10-minute drive. And I got a couple friends that work there. So the accordion pipes will be probably hard pipe and silicone replacement, and then the actual boost to the throttle body hoses will be hard pipe and silicone. I've got most of that junk and stuff all up under the cart there. Bunch of random stuff there. Let's see. Oh, the radiator setup. I had a nice 2-core radiator. It was great. I'm just gonna have to put back my old Koyo factory one back in there. It's kind of where we're at right now. Car runs in his tune. So if you didn't follow the video, it's kind of a recap. This is just a sort of performance engine rebuild. Not much overstock, nothing crazy. Original crank, original rods, aftermarket pistons. Shoot, not really much went into it. It's pretty simple rebuild, pretty common. Eliminated a lot of the hose piping and stuff, as you could see. You could see the valve covers. I painted those white. You can see where the nitrous line. Move that out of the way. You can see on the side there's tons of room actually. I can stick my hand all the way down right next to it. I got plenty of room back and forth. I'm not going to pull the motor to put the turbos in, just because the AC is eliminated. All the hosing and all the wires, all the engine harness is all tucked back in the back. If you notice, the PTU harness normally comes up and around, bolts a couple places, drops the fittings here, or drops the connectors here for the temperature switch and temperature sensor, and then usually PTU bolts right here. Mine's actually not relocated to the front. Mine's actually located in cab, quite a ways back that way. It's under the dash, and then ran the rest of that harness in the back. My harness is I'm not going to say chopped up, but it is definitely altered. So a lot of like the VTC cables, I switched my VTC solenoids because I wanted the longer cable one on the other side, just because of the way the routing for my harness was. Most of the harness is actually tucked back behind the engine. It looks almost the same amount of cluster as it was before. Let's see. That pretty much covers the engine rebuild. There's not much that went into it. I mean, basic bolt-on stuff, respun Denso alternator, I know the polished crank pulley, nothing else. Oh, I ran those connectors. They're underneath the not underneath the plenum, but ran throughout the plenum all the way to the back. So again, I don't have that big harness running across the front of the motor here. It looks a little cleaner. If you kind of compare pictures of this engine to yours, you'll notice there is a lot of stuff deleted. Let's see, what else? It's got 555 injectors, or well, I guess there's 615. Technically, the new style ones are. Shoot, that's really all that goes into the engine. Transmission-wise, I just rebuilt it recently. Just a stock rebuild, so I don't know how long it'll hold up. We'll be looking at transmission options then. I am staying auto. I've got a 5-speed Z. To be honest, every car I have is a 5-speed that I drive, so having an automatic is just really nice. For those of you guys that drive 5 speeds every day, you know what I'm talking about. That's really it. That's kind of where we're at. So as soon as I shut this video camera off, I'm going to kind of start bolting the turbos on. I'll probably completely remove the battery tray. It's spot welded in. I'll probably just grind off the tabs and make it a bolt-in unit when I get done. Just to give myself some room. As you could tell, if I was to get rid of the... Ooh, there's a lot of cancer in there too. If I was to get rid of the battery tray, it still has a stock. You'll notice there's still a stock NA manifold on this side. And then on the other side, I was using a stock TT manifold. Probably not enough light down there to tell, but yeah, you can't tell. There's not enough light, but there's a stock TT manifold on that side. And then I've got a set of Mike Smith manifolds laying around from my last car, so I'll be putting those on. And then, because the original single turbo build was this one. Since the NA manifold drops down so low, I brought it, crossed it over, kind of like a Z31, and brought it up to the TT manifold, and run the exhaust here, next to the radiator, across to the front into the turbo, which was mounted on the front bumper. It was just too close to the intercooler. If I moved it back, it was too close to the radiator. Just was a... And then by the time you loop around out of the intercooler on this side, under the headlight, factory tracking up and over, you know, end it, and then splitting it between having the Y to split it between the throttle bodies, it was just... There was less room on top of the engine than there was factory, so... I'm still debating going with electric fan or going back to mechanical. Still have lots of that stuff. Anyways, that's kind of where we're at. As soon as I turn this camera off, I'm going to start ripping that NA manifold off, getting that TT manifold off, bolting some turbos on. Got to jack it up a little higher, drop the steering arm, a few other things. Anyways, so that's where we're at. And I don't need any of the I told you so's, like I said. Been there, done that. This is the second single turbo 300 I've made. This one I just was trying to do it without chopping into the body, or without doing a whole lot of moving stuff around. So anyway, stay tuned. I should have another video in just a couple days, hopefully. Depends how far I get today. Alright guys, have a good one.